There is no peace. There is only passion.
Amen.
Hey kids, this is your host, Dr. Dana Martin on the Sith Dominion. We have with us this evening the one and only Cam, the one and only Kat, the one and only Clint. I'm sorry, the one and only Zane. How are y'all doing tonight? Happy Halloween, folks!
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween.
This is so fun. We're getting to do a podcast on Halloween instead of trick-or-treating. Is that
I mean,
fun?
that's about a toss-up. I mean, free candy.
No place I'd rather be.
Oh,
Amen.
true. It's free candy. Speaking of, my daughter got married this past weekend.
Congrats.
Zane got to see him while we were in Oklahoma. His mother lives an hour and a half maybe away from us, like apart, and we got to see him in Oklahoma. So it was super fun. It was a costume party, and I went as kind of Darth Vader before he got suited. So Anakin with the black cloak, etc. Zane went about like that. But my daughter was, I think I shot you a pic.
Yes.
Kat, she was Sally pretty much head to toe. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, so speaking of that, what are you guys doing tonight for Halloween besides sitting here? This is only an hour. So what else did you do today, or what are you going to do?
I'm going to hand out candy to teenagers probably because those are probably the only people that are going to come to our door for candy. You know?
Yeah, and Zane.
I'm going to drive down.
I mean,
He's
Zane,
like, hold on, let me
Zane
drive to San Antonio. Like, you know.
well, he is in San Marcos. He's not
Not that far.
Right?
Look at it.
I mean,
It's like 45 minutes. Yeah.
40 minutes away. 30, 40
I don't
minutes
know.
away.
For some free candy, I think I could find other ways to get free candy.
Yeah.
Wait. Cam, what about you?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably gonna finish 100%ing Assassin's Creed Mirage. That's all I've got on my agenda the rest of the night.
Man, we need to get him hooked up with the weekend crew on the Geek Gauntlet with all of his gaming knowledge, man. So, William, help us out. Let's get Cam over there on the Geek Gauntlet.
Dude, just reach out whenever you're free. We can make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Did you forget to hit the live again, Dave? Oh, you can't. No, and they'll all tell you it
That's
counted
not
down.
recording.
But now the cat's out of the bag. We're not. This is the second time we're doing this. We were gonna try to totally not do it like last time. Where, yeah, that is what
We're
happened.
good. Yeah, we
No,
live.
Sean.
We live.
We're live.
So yeah, we are working then because this is. Thank you, appreciate it, Deb. So, speaking of Halloween, what was maybe one of your best or favorite costumes, or something that you really remember as a costume? Doesn't have to be fun or favorite. We'll start. I don't know. Zane, go. Don't say anything.
This would have been... Okay, no, I won't write. This would have been back in late 2000s, early 2010s. I was just like a Dallas Cowboy football player. I have that picture somewhere. I looked really cute.
It's not a
remember that.
logo, it's a rating.
Man, this kid he'd like, hey, Dad, did you know that in 1972, Hollywood Henderson, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? He loved the Cowboys, man. He would read books on them. Yeah, good for you. All right, next. Kat, what about you?
I had this really cool leprechaun that I did, which I later repurposed as an adult, for a creepy doll, to where I was told that the company Potluck I was no longer allowed to make food that looks like bodily organs, because apparently I made them look a little too lifelike. To which my response was, "His brains aren't really pink."
They're not?
No, not once they no.
What color are they?
They're like a grayish green color.
Okay, all
But
right.
I still
all right,
made
next.
it pink. But
Wait,
I
so
set it up
human
on this
brains-
platter.
Are human brains the same color as like cow brains?
Kind of, sorta.
Yes, but actually no.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Got
mind
you.
some cow brains, but
Yeah.
human brains them
Yeah.
out.
Apparently it was a little disturbing because I set it up on a platter, like if you were gonna be at like a buffet, and it had like the lettuce, and then I like crushed up Oreos, and then I made gummy worms to look like they were crawling in dirt. But I didn't like make them weird colors. I made them like earthworm colors. Apparently, I freaked out some people.
That's fantastic. Should have just grabbed a handful, right?
That's awesome.
That is pure dedication.
I will find a picture of that because at one point I finally did. I said, "Hold on, here's my camera. Take a picture of this." And it's like zombie creepy doll just sitting there like on brains.
Cam, what about you, man?
Red Power Ranger.
Red Power Ranger. Austin St. John. That's the dude. He was supposed to be here at Comic-Con, at College Station Comic-Con, and he backed out last minute. Could have met the Red Power Ranger, brother.
All right.
What was it about the Red Power Ranger that led you to like the Red Power Ranger?
He was just the leader. I can't really. I don't know. My parents had this thing. They were telling me, you're just going to be a leader of men. And I just fell in love with the Red Power Ranger. And I lead no men to this day. So.
But you do wear red.
I do wear red.
I see that.
This is my costume. So. It's really cold in my apartment. So I had to throw on a hoodie.
All right. So moving in to some HoloNet highlights, we wanted to kind of talk about. We've gotten to see the Inquisitors in live action in several different series or couple series now. We've seen them in animation. Zane, you brought up a good point, and I'd like for you to reiterate that on why we or how we could get more of the Inquisitors without having to introduce more Inquisitors. And you were saying,
well, yeah, when our first try, we were talking. I brought up how I really think it'd be interesting to see kind of how they started or grew within the Empire. You know, how they would have trained together, how they knew each other, how they grew those bonds. Because it seems like within they knew each other so much to become enemies of each other, if not best friends with each other. So. I mean, I think that is a very viable option they have still.
Yeah, and
There
you know, go ahead.
talk of an Inquisitors show at one point, wasn't there? Did it get scrapped?
Was
Oh,
that
There was one
Obi-Wan
called
show,
Acolyte,
Oh, that's right. I was
Acolyte.
thinking Acolyte. That's right.
but that was
getting
I thought that was
kicked around
high.
again. What was that? I'm sorry, Zane.
I thought Acolyte was for High Republic.
It might have been.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I actually had an article on that and shelved it because they were shelving it for a little while. So I'll crack that one back out and shoot that out there. But yeah, I think the Inquisitors, they're an interesting group. They're all fallen Jedi. So or they were all once Jedi. So there's something to that. Where were they hiding? How did they get, all of the bits that got them to ultimately the three we're going to talk about tonight. Malachor 5 and got killed by Maul, which got both of those episodes. We'll go ahead and just go into them. Those two episodes of Rebels, who has seen those? Yes, everyone. Okay, good. So that episode, those two episodes of Rebels are important because of the reintroduction of Maul in that way, in that capacity. You have Ahsoka and Vader facing off. You've got Ezra 100% being seduced by the dark side. You've got the three Inquisitors battling it against Kanan and Ahsoka, and Maul helping, and then Maul turning and blinding it. They're so okay. I know. I just pretty much, you don't have to watch it now. All that stuff happening, and all I can think of is these Inquisitors are so hell bent on capturing the artifact for their boss that they're willing to die. Why?
I don't think they had another option.
Because death is better than the torture they would have faced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are things worse than death. Yeah. Yeah, and I think Maul's a perfect example of that. We talked about that on the show. I think, Zane, you were on that show.
No,
What
I
we
wasn't.
did.
That's the first one I
No?
wasn't on. Third episode.
Oh,
Check it out.
episode 3. Zane's not on it.
Mhm. The
But
first
they
one I wasn't
tortured
on.
Maul. Palpatine. So, yeah, man. I don't know. I think the those three. I don't want to get them wrong. It's like the 8th, 7th, and 10th. No,
Fifth.
7.
5th, 7th, and 8th. Yes. 5th brother, 7th sister, and 8th brother. What I don't know. I'm a sucker for masks. So like when Morag showed up in Ahsoka, and you've got the Inquisitor. Which one had the mask? 7th. No. Oh my god.
No, it was the 8th brother.
Eighth brother had the
Eighth.
mask. I always we're talking acrobatics and we're talking all these fun things, but in the end, what does all that flair do? You know, you get in those episodes Vader the dramatic riding in on a TIE fighter.
Just being so extra.
Isn't it? Isn't it
so
though?
extra?
But I mean, Camp, seriously, like if you were to see that, would you be like, oh, this guy? Or would you be like crapping yourself?
To see what was Vader like 8.5 feet in the suit? Just a monster riding on the TIE
ginormous.
fighter.
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
I'm out of there. I'm out. I gotta go.
like if Homeboy can ride it on a TIE fighter, I
That's
don't
it.
need that energy. Like, you know.
First off, who's piloting the TIE fighter is the real
You
question.
can have the
Like,
artifact.
We'll use the
mean,
Force.
Yeah.
That's not how the
Force
Force
doesn't-
works.
Nobody knows how the Force works. George didn't know, so nobody knows.
Midichlorians.
The Vader's presence on Malachor when he does arrive, it's interesting. I believe how Darth Maul can. I'm sorry, he's not Darth Maul anymore. Maul. He senses him like even in hyperspace, and there's a couple moments where he looks up to the sky, you know, and Ezra's like, "What?" You know, and I think moments like that in the writing of these characters, like Maul, like the Inquisitors, adds a richness that I don't think we see elsewhere. Do you think that writing is as rich as I think it is, or do you think I'm just trying to give a little fluff where credit maybe doesn't go?
I think it was well written, but I'm not sure how much of the writing itself wasn't overly exaggerated.
I got you.
Because really, how far out can you really feel the Force?
That's true.
It has to have a range of some point.
Well, and you know, Luke put it out across the galaxy and died afterwards. So I think you have a point there. So with the with those three, I think one of the things that I enjoyed about those episodes with those three too is their use of teamwork and communication. I mean, they were like, okay, we're gonna do this. All right, ready, set, hut, go. And I think if we look at them as a model of, you know, we came from the same place, maybe we had different experiences, and now we're back at the same place. We see that, I think, a lot with family, right? And in this case, they're called brothers and sisters, and I don't think that's an accident. But I'm not going to ask you to talk about a time when your family kind of you worked as a team or whatever. But I just want to kind of talk a little bit about that in your like place of business or what you do, Zane, even in band or with the band. How important is that diversity from the in-between sometimes? So that diversity, how important is that? I was asking you kind of, Zane, with the
Okay.
band.
Yeah. Okay. I
Like,
guess.
especially like within music, right?
Well, coming from I'm a college marching band. We were coming from different high schools, not just all over the state, but technically all over the nation, right? And so you have these different high schools teaching their kids how to play instruments their specific ways, and we're all coming together to create one unified sort of marching band. And so even within the pit, right, the front ensemble, we have different people who have learned how to read music certain ways that have made them succeed at a more accelerated rate, or how to hold your mallets a different way, right? Like there's a grip called Stevens grip. It's where you hold two mallets in one hand, right? So you're four mallets. But there's also another grip called like the Burton grip or something like that. And that's another way to hold two mallets. And on drum set, I needed to hold two mallets. So I did my Stevens grip. It's the one I know. And I was holding like a mallet and a drum set stick to crash cymbals and stuff. And the guy in front of me, he was like, there's this grip that works better for that. And he showed me the grip and I tried it and it worked way better. Right. And I wouldn't have had that experience if it wasn't for that diversity. You know, this guy's he used to go to OU. Like, talk about completely different style.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Well, even with that, you also even get that like in your marching steps. So like when you're doing performance band, I mean, I've seen people that are more like a high step military step. Then there are other bands where it's like a roll step, because it keeps you. And the roll step a lot of times, unless you're really good at that march step, the roll step is like what a lot of bands, at least on the West Coast, used, because it kept you moving flat. You didn't get like that jolting. It kept just like it made it look like you were just floating across the field. But you know, even in different competitions, different bands, people coming from different places, just difference in the way that their march step was. And you kind of got to learn how to like mesh that all together.
Or else you run into each other.
Were
you in band, Cameron?
That's when you're a member of color guard and you're trying not to accidentally hit the tuba player with your flag.
Remember a drumline, try not to hit the tuba player.
Yeah.
It's always the tuba player.
Cam's gonna go, I was a tuba player. No. Were you in the band, Cameron?
No, I was team sports from T-ball,
Heck yeah.
all sports on. So that was kind of my connection to where we were trying to go, just playing team sports all my life. I got to a place at one point where I thought I enjoyed individual sports like golf, but in the end I kind of like playing in groups of golf, teams, competitive scrambles, those type of things now. So that's kind of my way to relate back in. I'm not musically inclined or artistically inclined at all. So those pictures back there, my wife did all those.
On a really good week, I can count to 8, but usually I can count to 4, and you know.
So what do you think it is, Cam, that kind of draws you to the more team aspect now compared to earlier in your life?
I feel like when I'm around a group of other guys that are competitive like me, it helps bring the best out in me. I'm not a great loser, so it's interesting to see other people that are hyper competitive like myself that are like, hey man, we tried our best. Like that's just not kind of the dynamic that I had growing up. That's not how my dad kind of ingrained in me, which is now he's totally flipped, which is another story. So, but I just like to win, and yeah, it's cool to win by yourself, but I feel like winning as a team, like I'm in a men's softball league, which is why I missed a couple earlier episodes, and not this past season or not this current season, but last season we won the like men's tournament championship, and it was pretty solid. Like it'd been the first time I'd done something like that post college, and I was like, this is fun, and that's why I still kind of do it, even though it's like, oh my God, I gotta go play softball on a Tuesday night for 1 to 3 hours, depending upon how the games go. But I don't know. I like being competitive as a team and winning. So
yeah, it's funny. There's a famous leadership quote that says, "It's lonely at the top." Well, if you're lonely at the top, are you a leader? where's everybody? So
Yeah.
I think when you think about your successes, if you look back on your life, it may be yourself that gets your, you have to be motivated and get your juices going to start whatever it is. But ultimately, you're not going to hike Everest unless you have a guide, right? And the guide's going to go with you and support you, and you're going to help support that guide when he needs assistance too. So you all get to the top. So I think that's a great example of the way the Inquisitors, so long as they would keep their own passions out of their, what they were doing, which is inherently dark side. They were formidable. I mean, the Inquisitors were awesome. They were awesome. Yes. Absolutely. Awesome. So I wanted to talk about one in particular Inquisitor. So the eighth brother, his specific task was to hunt down Maul. That was what he was supposed to do. When you think about having a task that you have the ability to do whatever you want, but this is the goal, is that something you would prefer? Or would you prefer that's the goal and I'm going to give you a step-by-step how to get there? What's your preference?
I'm very Sith, so you just tell me what that goal is and I'm just going to make it happen. I'm going to give you some plausible deniability.
I'll ask for forgiveness.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Zane, do you prefer more structured to the path, or do you prefer carving your own path?
I want to say in between, but if I had to pick, I'd say a lot more carving. Most of the time, I'm more like a let you kind of show me what you want, because, I mean, if I get it wrong, it's all your fault. But at the same time, I honestly think in most of my important endeavors, I really like to just have that goal set and clear and just do whatever I can to meet that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm structure based. I mean, I'm a by any means person, don't get me wrong, but having a sense of structure in my workplace, at least, kind of makes me feel a little bit more grounded and not as unhinged, because I can be very impulsive, and in cases of if I was an Inquisitor, I would probably follow my impulses too much, which might lead to my downfall.
So, Cameron, you bring up a great point. So I'm work on coaching and all these things, and when I look at the dynamic of these four, we had a great time multiple times that we thought we were having a show over the last two shows. But I enjoy this dynamic in our show, and it's important to point out that, yeah, we're all different. We're all so different that it works. But it only works if everyone's willing to play their part. See, like Kat, she'll make sure that I say and do the things that I'm supposed to say and do in the show. And Zane will make me feel like a dad, and I'll feel ridiculous. And then whoever the other guest is, in this case, Cameron, is like, it's this. It really thought out, not wandering like Dana. So, man, when I think about diversity in the workplace, I really do think the whole swath of everything from race to gender to where you're from regionally, right? Like you said, Zane, this dude showed you something from OU, or went to OU, was in Oklahoma. Had he never transferred, who knows when you would have learned that, if ever. So those dynamics are so important and are needed on teams, multiple dynamics. And when you have, I'm trying to think of a good Sith example, and maybe you guys can help me out, where they were too aligned in thought, and that was their downfall. Like maybe in the Malik. Malik and what's his name? Shoot. Who did Malik beat? Oh my god.
I don't remember.
We just talked about that on the Revan shows.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't think any of y'all were on the Revan shows.
I was not.
I was
Oh,
actually
yes.
thinking back to the stories of Bane. Like the original, like when it first starts telling his story.
Yeah.
Drew Carpenter.
When he first went to like that Sith University. We'll just call it's Sith Hogwarts is what it is. Like he was such an outcast because he hadn't been raised in the Sith. He hadn't been raised to be this Force user.
Yeah.
And all these Force users like looked down on him. And what did he end up doing? He sat in a library, he learned everything he needed to learn, and he slaughtered them all.
Yeah, that's one of those, here's the goal. Do what you got to do to get there.
Yeah. But I think that was kind of a good example of that in those students were so singularly focused on this is the only way to do it, is to you have to go through these classes, you have to follow these guidelines, you have to do this in this class to be a successful Sith.
Mm-hmm.
And here's this guy's like, nah, bro, I just sat down and read some books. Like,
watch me now. Yeah, Bane's a great example. That's a book I still haven't read. Don't nobody yell at me, man. I know, right?
I don't have
I've
the
probably
first one.
done given you so many spoilers. I didn't know.
That's okay. No, I mean I know the story.
Oh, okay.
Do you know the story of Darth Plagueis? Yeah, the tragedy of Darth Plagueis. I know the story. I just haven't read it. There was a lot of stuff that maybe is or isn't canon anymore, dealing with a lot of those like Exar Kun and these super powerful Sith, man, over time in the KOTOR games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we'll see that sort of revisit the way even maybe they did it with Force Ghosts? Or, I mean, do you think they'll canonize some of that stuff?
I don't think they will.
I'm not optimistic, no.
I mean, they did the Star Forge, so that's huge, right? That made everything with Revan.
Well,
to
and the
me-
name Revan was canon,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well,
and I think Bane as well.
Well, wasn't Bane in the Clone Wars show? Didn't
I think-
Yoda was like
Yeah.
his
there was
ghost or
mention of
something?
him, but he didn't actually
With the
appear.
wills.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
He appeared in the deleted scenes.
But that only happened like where they started acknowledging that, oh yeah, Clone Wars is totally part of canon. When
Yeah.
the backlash came out of, if you don't have Revan, and you don't have Bane, and you don't have these characters, you don't have Sith, you don't have Vader.
Mm-hmm.
So
'Cause-
y'all just shot yourselves in the foot. How you gonna fix that? So they suddenly said, oh, look at that, Clone Wars is canon.
yeah.
So sorry. Yeah,
Like,
the
oh,
Clone
maybe
Wars.
we weren't clear that yes, Clone Wars is canon.
Yeah, I think there's when you play through those games and you get to kind of go through the tombs of the ancients. It's just, I don't know, man. I love that. I loved all that richness of, and then this happened and that happened and I got killed by this one and the other one killed the other one and we're here now and we're killing everybody. I don't know, man. I really enjoy and I don't believe the Jedi have that sort of richness to the lore, and I could be mistaken because I lean heavily on the Sith, but
It's
I don't
different.
know of a lot of books that
Most
are
of-
about old Jedi.
Most of what I know that are talk about old Jedi is confined to mostly that SWTOR, the MMO game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's obviously got to be a few books that kind of touch on it. But I mean, other than what the Teal Shan and all the ones from Malgus's era, it really, I don't think I've.
The Jedi are talked about so differently. Like when you read the books, and because I'm a bookworm and I'm a nerd, but when you start reading the books and you're reading about the Jedi, and if you read the way I do, where you read and it kind of creates like that mental picture, it plays out like a soap opera.
Mm.
So they're like the big, like the Skywalkers are like that rich, affluent family. And they, of course, always have to have one black sheep. Where with the Sith, when you get into those stories, it's really like character building and developmental, and like, look at what this person went through that put them in that situation to go that direction. Where Jedi, it's more of, even though there are some Sith that are raised in the Sith way and raised in Sith culture, you see that much more on the Jedi side, where it is really just like, oh, so we live in this city and like so-and-so's a senator and our life is fabulous and go off to Jedi Academy. I mean, that's...
We're going to take you from your family when you're a small child and just throw you into it.
Yeah.
Indoctrinate you.
They so they sell their children to the gypsies, but they don't make it sound like the gypsies. They make it sound like it's a big honor. Where, like, if you go back to like European stories, it's the same thing of like, oh, the gypsies came and took the bad children.
I saw this thing on Twitter where I don't know if it's accurate or which part of canon it's from, but it was the journal, I guess, or something, where like Anakin essentially writes like, I miss my mom, like I want to see my mom. Does that make me a bad person? Like, that just makes me be like, man, I really would not like to be brought up in prequel and before Jedi Academy era, because that just sounds painful, just getting taken away from your family and indoctrinated to not an idealistic way of living. Unless you're on the Jedi Council, then you can just do what you want, like Mace Windu. So
I feel like the whole, we talk about it all the time on the show. There's a duality there for folks that like the Ahsokas, and it seems that there's more of a, maybe not a happiness, but a content that's their life. So Jedi always, struggling to live the life and be what they're supposed to be and what have you. Sith, going off the deep end, going mad from power. But if you walk the line, right, you seem to keep your sanity and stay alive just long enough anyways. And I think there's something to that. I mean, I'm not saying don't subscribe to an ideology and whatnot, but I'm saying evaluate ideologies, right? Is that bad? Does that make me a bad person?
I mean, everything should really be in moderation. If you really think about it, life in general is moderation. So if you go too far either way, you fall off the rails. And I think that's really kind of like what you see. You do see that in the Sith and the Jedi. Is the Jedi go so far into this, like, no possessions, no, like, all the things they can't have that they end up having anyway. Then you have the Sith that are just like, we don't see any reason not to have those things, and we're just going to embrace it.
Until you live out your usefulness.
Yeah.
For whichever Sith you're serving.
That's right. And see, I always preach to my employees, be the employee that's wanted, not the one that's needed, because I can replace you if I just need someone to fill a seat. So that goes the same for all of my masters out there. Make sure that your apprentice is, that they're being wanted.
Well, like, I mean, we were talking about the writing with the Inquisitors. Like, I love the Jedi Fallen Order Survivor games, and I feel like the second sister death really encapsulated how Vader views the Inquisitors. So think about it this way. Vader's just a brute force maniac when he shows up. You hear the footsteps, second sister freezes, or Vader's holding her by the Force, who knows. And he has the holocron. I mean, Vader could take out, I forget her name, and Cal easily. He doesn't have to kill her. Like, he doesn't have to kill her in that moment. He can keep her alive. But she fails, even though, she has the holocron there. I mean, he could get it back, and he just kills her. She outlived her usefulness. She failed in his eyes. And it's like, that's just how the the Inquisitors were. They were just tools. Like, even if I feel like the eighth brother would have taken out Maul, theoretically. I mean, he outlived his usefulness and on to the next.
Yeah, disposable, right?
Yeah.
Human capital. Like, that's what they're people, man. Like, I get it. Human capital. You want to call it something nice, but that's exactly what you're describing is, a butt in a seat. And when they've outlived their usefulness, kick them out. And replace them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, that's what Anakin was going to be for Palpatine. It was just kind of more symbolic when he got his burns and he was not as useful to him, but he was still useful enough to keep him alive,
Yep.
Because, even if I think full potential Anakin, we can always get into that debate in another episode, but it's like he was just another tool for Palpatine. Even though in Anakin's eyes, he's like, oh, I'm going to get this strength. I'm going to save my wife. I'm going to kill the Emperor. Like, it's just going to be a step-by-step, right? But he had no idea he was just being played by his own emotions.
100%. Oh, so yeah, head and heart, right? The Inquisitors, I think, kind of led their drive with their head. And I say because I don't feel like they really had a heart anymore. They had nothing really to live for. Everything that they had lived for and the ideal of the Jedi was gone. They're tortured and or voluntarily came over to serve the dark side, which they had pledged to never do, and now they've got that conflict. They're just biding time. So I think in the point there, Cam, too, is they're tools, but they know it. I think if you don't know it, that's where the problem is. For those guys, anyway.
Yeah. So they basically everything they do is calculated. Like, what do I have to do to live another day?
Yep. That's I couldn't do that. Well, but do we not do that? I know I've had jobs like that where it's like, what do I have to do today to make sure I don't get fired and I still have a job? What's the bare minimum I can do to not get fired? We've all had those jobs, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I mean, yeah, I mean, isn't that kind of what we do sometimes in life? I mean, there's some days I go to work and I'm like, what can I just do just to get me through from this 8 to 5? Like, I'm all about giving it 100%, but today I just don't got it, you know?
Do you want 100% for an hour, or do you want like 10% for the day?
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like especially when you work for publicly traded institutions, it's even more, that's kind of, they are the empire and we are their inquisitors if you work for a publicly traded institution. So it's kind of you're just there. We're there in real life to produce shareholder value, if you kind of understand that. And then the inquisitors are there to, do what
assure
they're
the
supposed
security
to do.
of the Sith reign.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even though they're not Sith.
No, they're not. They are trained in the ways of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
But they are not Sith. There's plenty of corrections to go around for Dana when he threw that out there. They're not Sith Inquisitors, Dana. I know. All right. No, that's great. And I one more kind of last point. We'll wrap it up with the Inquisitors. All of them had a point and purpose to the ultimate vision of Vader. Palpatine started it, but it was Vader that finished it. And when you look at what Palpatine had in store for him, I kind of feel, and y'all can counter this, but I feel like he knew what was going to happen because he had the clairvoyance in the movies. He was able to see the future in ways that in cloud the judgment and future of others seeing. So I think he knew he was going to run into Ahsoka. That's just my thought. I'd love to talk about that.
I mean, he should have had the foresight to know.
And why would he want that? What would be the point of him running into Ahsoka?
Well,
Closure.
Closure. He'd always had that attachment for Ahsoka, and it almost felt like at the end of Clone Wars when he saw, was it Rex's helmet or something
Oh my god!
in the snow.
Yeah.
It almost felt like he knew she wasn't dead, and he knew
Yeah.
she was still out there. And so the fact that he knew she was still alive and he had the chance to go see her, that almost felt like not Vader pushing to go and see Ahsoka, but Anakin going to see Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I mean, he tells her like we need not be adversaries.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, to him, everybody he knows and loves is dead, minus Obi-Wan. And so in his mind, he's like, I mean, this is a chance for me to have somebody that I can probably use to go and take down the Emperor, right? Because he's still mad at the Emperor for basically misleading him, right? And so I feel like, but Ahsoka's like, I cannot get past what you did, right?
Mhm.
Or like what you are now. And so, and I feel like in the show they didn't really, get into that as much as I would have hoped, but I mean, it was still all right. But I feel like for Anakin, it was more, maybe I can turn her and use her to help me just take down this evil man that has, destroyed my life essentially.
Yeah, I think there was a lot in a very short amount of time when he saw her of, oh my god, like Anakin, right? Like you said, and
Yeah.
I think if he could have brought her, he and her would have, they would have destroyed the Emperor, no doubt. But that wasn't what the Emperor saw, I don't think, and I don't believe that's what Vader. I think he would use her, but I don't think he would use her in the way he would an Inquisitor, I guess is what I'm trying to say. He would have her as his apprentice.
It's
Well, that was the goal with
different.
Luke.
Yeah. That's right. What was that, Cat? Sorry.
Basically, it's because it's a different mindset where the Inquisitors are basically brainwashed, for lack of a better term, into submission, and that torture into submission. Ahsoka still had free will.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as she had free will, like, he never planned on taking that free will from her. As long as she had that, then he was hoping, I think, that she would just kind of go along.
I would agree. Man. So I'm still writing up a whole bunch of Darth Vader stuff. I'm gonna do some series stuff for Darth Vader, and they'll be pre-recorded, and I'll push them out like on TikTok or something. But I wanted to let y'all know because I think I'll have a different guest for different parts of Vader to go into detail. And Cam, I think you just secured yourself a spot with the Ahsoka and for that episode. They're short, little 10-minute episodes. It'll be fun. So we'll get you in for some of those. Thank you guys, man. Jeez, it all comes back to Vader for me too, always. So, what was it? So we'll go on into whatever our next segment is that I never say. Corbine Corner. So I put out an article yesterday. Yeah, yesterday about Vader that kind of stirred the pot a little bit. I liked it like a cauldron, man. I love it. I didn't say, is Darth Vader the most terrifying character in Star? I said Darth Vader is the most terrifying. Tell me why he is. And there were some people like, he ain't. Like, that's all they would say. He ain't. But I feel like I made a pretty good case. So check out the article, geeknewsnow.net. I don't know what the title of the article is, but it's like right there, second. It's like Vader's face is on fire. It's cool. But yeah. So want to talk about Vader real quick in this, though, to help plug my article even more. When you first saw Darth Vader, do you know when that was, or at least when that registered? What was the first time? Think of that. We'll give you like 3 or 4 seconds here just to, oh my God, collect that thought, right? Okay. All right. Who wants to go first? Your first impression, feeling. What's the story around that? Go.
New
Bingo.
Hope. New
Okay,
Hope.
I'll
New
go.
Hope.
I'll go.
Okay,
Watching
you
it.
got it.
Well,
Cameron
New
got it.
Hope.
New Hope.
watching it with my stepdad. I'm like, I don't know, 6 years old, just infatuated with what I'm seeing on my screen. I can't even explain it.
Cat.
I was trying to figure out how I got my own soundtrack like he had. Like he's really the first. If you think about it, like characters having a soundtrack that always played when they appeared wasn't really as much of a thing until Vader, and that just became my thing of like, how do I get my own theme song? Like, he didn't scare me per se. Like, I knew he was obviously kind of a jerk. But I was like, hold up. He's got a theme song. What do I got to do to get a theme song? Like,
Absolutely. It's like Peter Griffin walking around with that tuba guy behind him.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I was at that age where I was like, hold up, how do I get that? Like,
How about you, Zane?
So my view is very different because I grew up on Star Wars. I think you can attest to that. I don't remember when I haven't seen Star Wars because everything has always been on. And so there is no one real first memory of Vader. However, there is one memory of Vader when I realized who he really was. And it was actually, it was what's the one with Starkiller? Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
The very first mission, I don't know why it's when it hit, but it's you are Vader and you're slicing through Ewoks. Or something like that. Or was it Ewoks or was it like
It
it was something?
You're on
It was a
Kashyyyk.
Wookiee. It's been so long. But that single, I mean, I know you were playing him, but just the fact that you are Vader and you're just massacring this species is insane. I don't know.
So I think I have two reckonings here, and the first wasn't a reckoning; it was an awakening. Yes, A New Hope. When he comes through there, just like Commander, tear the ship apart. I would like, what? Who is this guy? And he's scaring the crap out of me, man. But I think when I really realized the intent on Vader, at least now, was in Obi-Wan Kenobi in the scene when he's walking down the street, calling out, trying to uncover where Obi-Wan is hiding, and he takes that kid and force pushes him up against the wall and snaps his neck. Like, what? Like as if, I think when we saw him with the younglings, it was implied. Agreed? When we see this, it makes his villainy real. I don't know. That's my thoughts.
see, and I guess for me, like, the treachery was always there. Kind of like you always have with a Disney villain. Even though you don't necessarily see them do the bad things, you get that sense of treachery.
Yeah.
So I guess like I always kind of like knew that was there, but it wasn't necessarily like a fear thing for me. It was more of a like, okay, this guy's obviously like a bad person. Someone's gonna take him down. That's just karma. Like that's how karma works.
That's
like
karma,
you know.
man. It bites you in the butt.
Yeah.
What are you about
like,
to say there, Zane? Oh, I'm sorry.
Nothing.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Cam.
I feel like in Attack of the Clones when he's going to save his mom and you hear the hint of the Vader theme as he's riding on the speeder, then you're like, for me as a kid, because I watched the OG trilogy first and the prequels, and I was like, I don't see it. And even when he's storming the Jedi Temple and he's about to kill the younglings and it's all implied or whatever, I still don't feel like that was Vader, right? It was more like, this is just a means to an end. Like, I just got to do what he's telling me step by step. I do this, I'm going to get the power to save Padme, right? I don't feel like we see Vader until he goes to Mustafar and we see the eyes and you're like, That's who's in the suit, right?
Yeah.
That's who's in the suit. And then we get the Padme comes. He's going back and forth a little bit, and then he sees Obi-Wan and it just puts him back in the rage. And then the one part of the Obi-Wan show that they did get right, I feel like, was that scene when he's walking through that town. It's hard to realize what happens next, but that scene right there, that was like that's what I thought of Vader as a kid. That's what I thought. That and Force Unleashed as well, because
I feel like
I thought he just.
Oh, go ahead.
Like,
Force Unleashed.
I just thought he, like, when I was a kid, I'm not gonna lie, I just thought he hunted down all the Jedi himself and slaughtered every remaining Jedi. That was just a headcanon theory for me as a kid. I was like, he's my favorite for that.
Yep. There's some good. But what was the? I think I read it. I don't know. It's Vader and Palpatine, and it's. There's a book. I can't remember what it's called. I don't even know if it's canon anymore. Never mind. I'll just shut up. So I think when you were talking about his chopping down the on Kashyyyk, chopping down the Chewbacca's. Oh my God, what are they called?
Chewbacca.
Wookiees. Chopping down Wookiees. The Chewbacca's. Well, and so one of my costumes was a Chewbacca costume. I mentioned it on the pre-show show. But no, I've always had this affinity for Darth Vader because of his struggle. Like it was always for me more about his struggle. I'm not the Jedi I should be, right? I'm less than, and no matter what I do, it's not enough. And now all of a sudden I'm a Sith, and I can do more and be more, but it's still not enough. Like he faced a life of feeling it's just not enough, and I believe that was a large part of the drive to consume through death. So he's consuming, trying to fill that void with extinguishing. I don't know, man. It's kind of a scary thing. Like it's kind of terrifying to me to think that there would potentially be someone that could be and think in those ways. I don't know, man.
It's the concept of this. It's similar, and you see it in everyday life, though. The people that, if I am bigger, if I just bully everybody, if I am the loudest voice in the room, if I yell louder than everybody else, then my voice is the one that's right. It's the same kind of mentality. And you see it if you've ever had to have an encounter with someone like that. You see that of they always feel like no matter what you say, if it's not in agreement with them, it's because you think they're less than you. Mm-hmm. So like somewhere they're still trying to balance or compensate for their own perceived inadequacies.
And they're filling that gap with whatever they can. And and that's where I think we go back to Ahsoka. It doesn't feel that way. She's not a Jedi. She's not a Sith. Balin did not feel that way. He's not a Jedi. He's not a Sith. Vader, all the way on one side. Obi-Wan, all the way on the other. I think there's something to it, and I'm sure we can do a whole show just on Walk the Line. I can't believe I just did that on a live show. All right, what happened to our texts is I have to change our last thing. What is our last thing? I don't know. Let's just do
throwdown.
Fan theory throw. Yeah, thank you. Like, I love that you know. I have no fan theory. Oh wait, didn't I write one down?
Yeah, you did.
No.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, who was Morak? Yeah. So okay, so I think the way Morak died with the little fumes or whatever, I think it was a brought back to life and/or pushed her. That's kind of my Night Sistery thing, theory in who Morak was. But I don't know, and I haven't done any research on what other people have said. Even if Filoni said this is who he is, I don't know. Who knows?
Okay,
Cameron, you're shaking your head. Go.
So, on the Star Wars website, it says that he was an Inquisitor. Merrick himself was an Inquisitor. However, we saw the green magic that came out of him.
Yes.
Right. That being said, we also know that Thrawn was working with the witches. So, who's to say that she didn't bring an Inquisitor back to life, per se?
Oh, and that
It's
Inquisitor
been
had
done.
a mask.
Mm-hmm.
What's in the cargo?
Just a bunch of dead souls, man. I think it's a bunch of caskets. Yep. Okay, so we'll throw it back to the HoloNet highlights because of news. Am I missing? Did they say there's going to be when the second season, or if there's going to be a second season, or how all this is going to play out?
Not yet.
They don't know what they're doing.
Wait, they don't know what they're doing.
Now, here's the other side of that too, though. Like, we know that there was some sisterhoodiness. Is it possible that some of the people that were Inquisitors, because they were Force users, were mistaken as Jedi, when in fact it may have been, Night Brothers, Night Sisters?
That's a good.
Yeah,
It's a good take.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a certain point when the Empire was looking, they just knew if you were a Force user. They didn't know what side you were on, and they didn't care.
Yep.
But I
just want to point out. Oh, go ahead.
I thought Palpatine slaughtered the Night Sisters and all that and everybody at
On
the end of
Dathomir.
Dathomir. Yeah.
There's all.
Yeah, I guess it could be anywhere.
There's always one that gets away, right? There are always the few that go into hiding,
Like
that
Morgan.
run to continue the order, and to continue their teachings. So just like how they didn't get all the Jedi, the odds of them actually getting all the sisters was also very slim, because the sisters would also run through the shadows in hut space.
Mm-hmm.
So those that did kind of venture out and were a little more worldly, that did more of the trading, more of the recruitment, more of that kind of stuff off Dathomir, most likely just disappeared into the shadows when they heard what happened.
I feel like it's going to be interesting, might be too headcanon-y, to because I got the sense in Ahsoka that Morgan Elsbeth was not really vibing with the Empire, right?
Yeah.
It was more of like, okay, I'm feeling some Night Sister-y stuff, right? I'm hearing Thrawn. And so I think it'll be interesting to see if the three other Night Great Mothers or whatever they are, if they kind of snap back into reality and we're like, the Empire's not actually a fan of us.
Night Sisters are very well known for playing the game.
Yeah.
For whoever they need to get whatever they want to at the time.
Mm-hmm. Case in point, Count Dooku. Yeah, that's a good point. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if they think the Empire can help them bring back the sisterhood, whether it's through uniting them all, getting those that have been enslaved free, etc., they will use them as to the means to an end, and then they'll cut and run.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it is very important to note that they did specifically pick Thrawn. I think if you really think about the witches, there are other options within the Empire to have chosen, but I think Thrawn was definitely him being an alien in a human-centered empire.
Oh, yeah.
And him dealing with a lot more races, customs, everything. All those are in the Chiss Ascendancy books.
Yeah.
You can really tell that, they can play towards their own agenda, but also, who's to say that their own agenda isn't to go with Thrawn himself? Not the Empire, but Thrawn's Empire.
Or here's the other side of that. Are they using Thrawn to create their empire? Because here is someone who, like you said, he's faced racism. He's even Thrawn's been told, you're not good enough, pal, by the Empire.
Yep.
And here you have this group of very powerful Force users, essentially saying, we know what they say about you. We've heard how they talk to you. We can make you more. Or, you are more, let us show you you're more. So finally he has that support he needs to say, oh, okay. Someone believes in me. And that's all he needs to go on and build his empire. But in the meantime, the Dathomirian witches, the Great Mothers, are there kind of pulling the strings a little bit.
So I want to point out on this show, ladies and gentlemen, way back in episode 7, 8, 9, we were talking about the Dathomir witches. And we were at the point in the Ahsoka series where that had not been revealed, and I think it was only one episode in or something, and I said, or no, I didn't. I think Debbie said, I think it's going to be something to do with the witches. And I was like, oh my God, you're totally right. 100%. And so we kept talking about the witches. And yes, she totally called that. I think you're onto something, both you and Cameron Cat, with how this may end up playing out. I'm thinking, looking at the coffins and looking at the Night Sisters and what they are able to do, that they're raising they will raise an army of undead to begin to pull people to their cause. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly what you two are hinting at there. Because
the witches of Dathomir, they're never going to bend the knee to a man.
No.
Let's be honest.
No.
That's not their way.
Even for pancakes, eggs, and bacon?
No. Not even for their own Death Star. But it's because they're a matriarchal society.
Yeah.
So, but they've understand the ways of other societies well enough to know how to take advantage of that.
You have to play the game. That's what you said earlier. Yeah. Totally. Whew. Awesome. I have a link for something. I promise.
Is it for ripped apparel so we can all update our wardrobe?
Do you have it? Do you know where it's at? I don't have it.
I don't, but is that what it's for?
He gave me a new one. Huh? That is what it's for, yes. It's like Halloween Sithy stuff. So we'll post the link in the description later. Let me give that to you now let me show you what I mean. Rip apparel. Okay, good. Okay. Oh, I got to share screen, don't I? Oh my goodness. The theater that I have been in many shows at did Rocky Horror last weekend, and it was super fun. We went on opening night. They were very nervous, but they had no reason to be. They were wonderful. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Okay, can y'all see this?
That's crazy.
Look, Nightmare Before Christmas Sarlacc. Love it.
Nice.
Dawn of the Droid. Dawn of the Droid. Love it. Love it.
And see, they do hoodies too. So we're getting into winter. If you need new sweatshirts, new hoodies.
Yeah, absolutely. So they had a couple of these. I just thought they were adorable. Yeah. Anyways, Ripped Apparel. Love these guys. They got some of the coolest shirts, man. Dawn of the Dead. Cool. Let's stop in my screen share, y'all. All right. So what are we doing over the next week while we're not having a show? What are you guys going to be up to over the next week or so? Oh, we're looking at it, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I always have a lot to say, so I'm letting other people go.
I don't. I won't be here. We will not be having a show, and I will not be writing any more articles either. So, you guys have a good one. We'll see y'all next. No, I'm just kidding. No, seriously. We will be off next week. When we come back, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. We have so many options. Y'all didn't hear that, right?
I heard that.
Nothing. Didn't hear anything. It's all in your head.
We have a lot of options to move from here, closing up one piece of dark side users, and we'll open it with another one in 2 weeks. In the meantime, man, Cameron, it has been fantastic having you on the show, carrying me last week for sure, all of y'all, with my absent-mindedness. But this week, fantastic show for all of you. I love talking on the Vader stuff. It's hard not to, because there's so much richness and depth and breadth to what he brings to the table. Zane, what do you got this weekend?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Not
maybe
marching?
a contest, maybe a game, maybe. I don't know. Haven't checked the calendar yet.
It's Tuesday. Don't expect me to know what I'm doing on Saturday.
I won't know till Thursday.
Oh my God, being in college, I don't miss it.
I mean, you're hearing this from the guy that almost forgot his daughter's wedding was last weekend. So
Exactly.
Why gotta be bringing up old shit? Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't that. Oof. All right, sorry. Oh wait, we're not on the fan theory thing anymore. What are we on? I don't know. Whatever.
Outro.
No, not yet, because I have to. No, I don't want to cause that.
We're in final remarks.
We are. That's right. Kat, what are you doing this weekend? What do you got going on, or what do we have going on if you don't have anything?
So Geek News Now still has a bunch of stuff going on. We should have a new podcast coming up from the War of the Stars podcast. You can check them out on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, anywhere you get your favorite podcast from. Thursday nights, if you're looking for some more Star Wars content, you're going to want to hop back here to our channel and check out Cantina Happy Hour. They're going to be talking about Mandalorian. That's what they're doing right now is Mandalorian. Then Saturday, you'll get to see my smiling face once again over with the Geek Gauntlet podcast. We are here at 9:00 on Saturday nights, and that of course is Central Standard Time. And then, hey, if you want to get some more Marvel content, you want to talk about Loki, some people kind of hated on watching it. If you're not sure how you're going to feel about it and you don't mind some spoilers, hop on over and listen to the folks from MCU Mondays and hear what they have to say. They do a really good job of doing a great recap of these shows because they're fans just like you. As always, since we are fueled by the fans, if you love this kind of content, if you want to be part of our conversations, it would mean a whole lot to us, and we'd really appreciate it if you would make sure that you like and subscribe. That way, you don't miss out on any of our geeky shows, Star Wars or otherwise.
Subscribe. Hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
And I should have a hobby hut coming up on Friday. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a miniature painting or if I'm going to be doing a diamond painting. Like, if I do that, it might be like a 4-parter. Because those are really
I don't
big.
have time for hobbies. This is my hobby. And I don't know how you do either. You are on, like, shows all the time.
Oh, I'm really only on, like, these 2 shows. But, like, I do stuff. I don't sleep.
Things.
It's fine.
Cam, what do you got going on? So no baseball or no softball, huh? That's over.
No softball. My sister gets her Aggie ring on Friday, so
nice.
That'll be a big day for the family. Other than that, just kind of hanging out, finish up 100%ing Assassin's Creed Mirage, and I think I'm gonna replay Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor, try to get the platinum trophy for those, and that's pretty much all I got outside of my other hobbies throughout the week.
Well, at some point, you're going to be on Geek Gauntlet on Saturday night, I can tell. That's going to happen. Kat, we're going to make that happen. All right.
We can make it happen.
I'm game.
Awesome. So, everyone have a great 2 weeks, I'll still post a TikTok here and there, maybe, or maybe I'll get something scheduled. I don't know. Either way, we want everyone to have a safe Halloween tonight if you're listening live. And if you didn't listen live and you're listening now, I hope you had a safe Halloween and didn't bite into candy with needles or anything that we were so afraid of growing up. But anyhow, thank you, Zane. Thank you, Cam. Thank you, Kat. And remember, kids, peace is a lie. There's only passion. Good night.